Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith here for another episode, fix my camera, of the Love Your Liver live stream. Glad you all are here. I can already tell we got some really great questions going on in the comments, and Hive want to say hi since you already did. Okay. So it is August 26th, 2022. Today's topic was we were going to go into more on copper toxicity because I found a great paper that really demonstrates how the liver feels about copper. The liver doesn't like copper. And it also shows that when the liver is quote unquote injured or cholestatic, if you're looking up terms for research, cholestatic or cholestasis, which means that bile is basically not going the right direction in the body and it's ending up back in the bloodstream or in places where it's not supposed to be, like your stomach. That's GERD. What they call GERD is bile in your stomach. It shows that when you have liver injury, you accumulate copper in your liver. And when they fix the cholestasis, when they fix the liver injury, your liver gets rid of copper in the bile. Really quite exciting. And it'll also show why blood copper can go down as people get sicker with copper in their liver. And I'm going to show you how your blood levels of things, that toxic things like copper and vitamin A, has been shown in the research to not correlate at all with what's in your liver. Now, let me couch that. If you have significantly high vitamin A, and I'm going to tell you, more and more people who are coming to me as this word is spreading, more and more people who are coming to me are having higher and higher vitamin A levels because the word's getting out. If you have high vitamin A levels in your blood or high copper levels in your blood, and I don't just mean high on the normal ranges, because the normal ranges are made of sick people. If you don't understand what the labs do, the labs set their normal range to include 95% of the people by definition. Look around you. Do 95% of the people look healthy? I don't think so. So if they imagine how you might hide epidemics of toxicity in a population. Could you simply shift the goalposts to always include 95% of the people? Wouldn't that be a great way to hide growing toxicity epidemics? As you say, well, even though the population's getting sicker, we're just going to make the lab ranges for normal fit automatically 95% of the people. So you should know that once you are out, I want you to understand this. By the time you're out of the normal range, you're in the 2.5% on either side. So by the time you're out of the normal range, that is significant. Okay. But you saying, I'm in the normal range, doesn't necessarily mean jack squat. And I'm going to show you this with vitamin A and copper and how they can know that there's problems and yet the blood looks fine. So anyway, for those of you who want to find more from me, nutritiondetective.com is my website. If you want to see the Love Your Liver program, which is my do-it-yourself program for helping your health return, that's members.nutritiondetective.com. That's where you can go get started. And we'll just jump right into it. So we did copper toxicity last week. So if you missed that episode, you might want to go into it. And I had somebody who's a big fan of copper. They don't like me very much. Comment on one of my videos. The comment's not there anymore. I don't put up with that. About how in certain diseases, copper levels in the blood go down. Huh. Cool story, bro. So how could that happen? Oh, wait, I didn't finish what I was going to say earlier. If you have high levels of vitamin A or copper in your blood, in your serum is generally how we measure it because that's what we have the most data on. For vitamin A, we're out here going, it's not even a vitamin, so really any is more than you need. And the higher it goes, the more problems it's causing. And copper, we're still figuring that out if it's even necessary at all. But it's definitely toxic. But when you get high levels of either of those, high out of range on the lab test, you're in the 2.5% of high people, and you are guaranteed toxic in your liver. Okay? Guaranteed. If you have low levels of these things, I'm going to show you research that shows that your blood level of copper and your blood level of vitamin A do not, when they're low or normal, do not correlate with the amounts of those things in your liver at all. At all. Do I measure serum retinol, blood vitamin A? Do I measure serum copper? Yes. Has it taken a lot of correlating people's symptoms and watching their patterns and watching lab levels change, as you'll see on the vitamin A study I'm going to go over? Watching like people go, as on an example I'm going to show you in the research, a case study where a guy went from diagnosably low vitamin A, so deficient in vitamin A, all the way to toxic in 12 weeks while he stopped his vitamin A supplements. Yeah, I'm going to show you that. Smart doctors in that case. There was very smart doctors in that case. They diagnosed him as vitamin A toxic while his serum retinol, his blood vitamin A, was low. They were smart. We'll go into that. So first we're going to go into this paper, concentrations of copper and zinc in liver and serum samples in biliary atresia patients at different stages of traditional surgeries. Okay. Biliary atresia, let me put this paper in here. Biliary atresia is a cholestatic condition. Biliary atresia is a condition in infants in which bile ducts outside and inside the liver are scarred and blocked. Bile can't flow into the intestine, so bile builds up in the liver and damages it. The damage leads to scarring, loss of liver tissue and function, and cirrhosis. Okay, now they just said infants. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was just infants. See, they're saying just patients in this paper. Okay. They're not saying infants specifically. This what I just read from you is from the National Institute. Let me see. NIDDK. What is it? National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. Diabetes and digestive and kidney diseases. How are those all connected? What might connect all those? Oh, is it the toxic bile? Oh, let's continue further. I just want to say something about this definition of this disease. So I talk about toxic bile a lot. Do you know that Rockefeller University funded studies back in 1905 and 1906 where they used the words toxic bile exactly? I've been over those studies in this live stream before. The Rockefellers, you may not think you may have an opinion of them. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But they've known about this for a long time, and medicine hasn't really talked about it. But I want you to see in which the bile ducts outside and inside the liver are scarred and blocked. What flows through the bile ducts? I'm pretty sure it's bile. So what would be flowing through the bile ducts that damages the bile ducts and scars them? Oh, you mean that's toxic bile? Well, I mean, what else would be flowing through there, right? So are you saying, Dr. Smith, that toxic bile itself can damage the very pipes that it flows through. Yeah, absolutely. Damages the liver, it damages the pipes. I think of one way that you should imagine toxic bile is like hot lava, just burning and damaging everything it touches. So what do we want to do with it? We want to make it less burning, less hot, and less damaging. That's what we do in the Love Your Liver program. We teach you what things are toxic and what things are good and help get rid of this poison out of your body. So they say bile can't flow into the intestine where it's supposed to go. That's the bile pathway. That's what we fix. We fix the bile pathway so it stays where it's supposed to go. Bile can't flow into the intestine, so bile builds up in the liver and damages it. Wait, are you saying that the liver makes bile, Dr. Smith, and that the bile itself can then go backwards and damage the very liver that creates it? That's what the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases says. This is how toxic your bile is today, folks. This is what is causing your problems. This is what is leaking into your blood, called cholestasis. If you have any serum bile, if you measure your serum bile in your blood and you have any there, you have some degree of cholestasis. You are not supposed to have any bile in your blood. So let's go back to this paper. Concentrations of copper and zinc in liver and serum samples in biliary atresia, so cholestasis. This is extrahepatic cholestasis outside of the liver. That's what extrahepatic means, outside of the liver, whereas intrahepatic would be inside the liver. We're going to get into that in a little bit. At different stages of traditional surgeries. I may just read this whole abstract and just interject where I need to. Quote, many patients with biliary atresia have impaired metabolism of copper and zinc because of the obstruction of bile ducts. Let's just go into this statement. An excessive copper accumulation is cytotoxic, toxic to the cells, and results in fibrosis, scarring in hepatic tissues. Okay. Seems pretty straightforward. Wait, didn't we just talk about scarring of the bile ducts? Wait, so if you had an excess of copper in your bile and it was flowing over your bile ducts, in theory, could that cause scarring of your bile ducts, which then could cause biliary atresia, which is cholestasis, which causes bile to leak into your blood and damages the bile ducts themselves and the liver itself? I mean, isn't that what we're talking about here? Okay, so let's go. Since zinc works antagonistically to copper, lower zinc concentrations may deteriorate liver damage. Okay, I want you to understand what that is saying. If you have an excess of copper and you don't have enough zinc, you get more damage. That's what they're saying there. In the 1980s, we performed a series of surgeries on biliary atresia patients for the construction and alteration of the bile flow route, however you want to say it, which is the major excretion route for copper. Why would we need to excrete copper? Is it because it's toxic? Oh, which is excreted in the bile? Okay. We obtained liver and serum samples at each surgery and measured copper and zinc concentrations by inductively coupled plasma atomic emission spectrometry. Okay, so I want you to understand the gold standard of assessing copper toxicity and vitamin A toxicity is a liver biopsy. Am I telling everybody to go out and get a liver biopsy so we can know what's going on in their liver? No, but when we have research where they actually took a chunk of the liver and they analyzed it, that is the gold standard. This is a gold standard study, basically. This is the best that we get. One of my videos on YouTube about the vitamin A toxicity epidemic is specifically showing percentages of populations around the world who actually did liver biopsy studies for vitamin A. Do you know that back in, I think it was the 1950s, several countries in Africa where they did autopsies on people's bodies after, they were dead. That's the best time to get a liver biopsy. You don't really want it when you're alive if you can avoid it. But there was upwards of 50% of the population that they analyzed that had vitamin A toxicity in their liver by the gold standard in the 1950s. That video is here on the channel. You should go watch it. Okay, so let's go into this. So they analyzed liver and blood samples, serum samples. Okay, and what they were doing was they were basically reconstructing. I don't know what exactly they were doing, but here they say the construction and alteration of the bile flow route. They were making like new routes for the bile to flow. I don't know how I want to say that word right now. I could just say it either way, so I'm saying it both. I don't know why. Anyway, they were making new bile pathways because the old one was scarred shut. Do you understand? So listen to what happens when the liver is finally able to get rid of bile. Hepatic or liver copper concentration decreased with the improvement of cholestasis after the establishment of bile excretion. Conversely, when cholestasis persisted or recurred, came back, increases in hepatic and serum concentrations were noted. Hepatic zinc concentration was lower than previously reported normal values. High hepatic liver and serum copper concentrations due to persistent or recurrent cholestasis and low hepatic zinc concentration may deteriorate hepatic fibrosis and liver cirrhosis. So when cholestasis gets better, the liver is desperately dying to get rid of the copper in it. When cholestasis gets worse, or people get a liver injury, they start accumulating copper in the liver. The lower zinc levels are, the worse the cirrhosis, fibrosis, all of this gets. If this is not the biggest evidence you've ever seen that the liver does not want copper in it, I don't know what else to say. Those of you out there who insist on eating animal livers, and you're like, oh, it's such a high source of copper and vitamin A, that's a sign of cholestasis. That's what, do you see? The higher the copper gets in the liver, the more cholestasis is going on. And it doesn't necessarily show up in the blood, as we're going to go over in a second. We are changing the paradigm of medicine, folks. This is why you're sick. This is one of the reasons is copper toxicity. Now, I'm just going to tell you, if you are eating chocolate all the time, I'm sorry, you're poisoning yourself with copper. If you are part of a revolution in copper or a protocol and you are forcing copper down your system, when your liver breaks, find me. If you don't believe me yet, I'll still be here. I'll be getting rid of copper all the time out of my people and myself and getting them better. So, we'll get to that one later. Hold on. Let me move this. Let me get to the next copper thing. So, actually, there was a question from Pierre, who is in the Love Your Liver program. And I just saw this question and I wanted to go over it because it correlates to what we're talking about. He said, can you talk about the possibility of babies being born with severe liver issues? Example, cirrhosis. Okay. I haven't looked up if babies are born with cirrhosis, but a big thing babies can be born with is what's called intrahepatic cholestasis. So cholestasis inside the liver. Now, how does this happen? Ladies, you're toxic when you're pregnant. And maybe you're doing things when you're pregnant, like taking too much vitamin A. Maybe you're following a Weston A. Price nonsense. You're going to self-poison yourself with like egg yolks and liver and dairy and prenatals with vitamin A in them and copper in them. And you're just poisoning yourself. So I know so many people in that world who they wonder why their kids are so sick and allergic. They can't understand they ate so healthy during their pregnancy. Well, let me find the on my old forum, just so you understand, let's say why your kids are so allergic. Why my boy is allergic because we weaned him off of breast milk with goat milk. Where's the kids one? There we go. Asthma and allergy in children. This is an article on my old forum. Oh, wait, I see Sabrina. Hi, Sabrina. How are you? The more vitamin A you give kids, the more allergic they become. So if you were feeding kids vitamin A in utero, that means while you're pregnant. If you haven't seen my video where I cover the Rodal study about, it's in the video where natural and synthetic vitamin A are exactly the same. But when they poisoned rats and mice with vitamin A, they found that the babies were born with problems. There was even a baby mouse who died from vitamin A toxicity from their nursing mother. The breast milk, if you want to call it breast milk in a mouse, killed the newborn because the mother was vitamin A poisoned. People will be like, but why is vitamin A in breast milk? Because why would it be there? Because there's all sorts of toxins in breast milk. Ladies, if you're doing the wrong things, and this is just, I mean, okay, can men just damage their sperm? Can they damage the sperm with lifestyle, with being toxic? Yes, but the men's contribution, if you don't understand how pregnancy works, the man's contribution ends at a certain point, right? When the sperm meets the egg. Then the man technically is not, other than being around, but the man's contribution physically to the pregnancy is over. Then the baby is just in the mother's soup of either goodness or toxicity. This is just the way it is. Ladies, if you're hearing this and you're feeling guilty, first you forgive yourself because you didn't know. Next, you help other women. You help your daughters. You help other women to stop poisoning themselves. That is how you pay it forward. And then with your own kids, you can do what you can to help their diet as much as you can. We can only move forward from here. Okay? What is done is done. My boy has an anaphylactic tree nut allergy. Probably because of vitamin A that I back in the day, I gave his mother. And then I did the goat milk. He loved goat milk. We used to buy a gallon of goat milk a week for I don't know how old he was, 2? I don't remember. But we were buying a gallon of goat milk a week for him. He loved that stuff. And then he got an anaphylactic tree nut allergy. Do I think I contributed to it? Yeah. Do I take responsibility for it? Yes. So anyone who wants to talk smack about it, I've already taken responsibility for it. I've already forgiven myself. We've already gotten rid of one of the 3 tree nut allergies. Taking responsibility for things is how you fix them. That's one thing I advocate for very highly. If you haven't read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, I suggest you do. Anyway, liver copper levels in intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood. I think I already posted this. I'm just going to post it again because I can't remember if I did. Liver copper concentration was studied in 4 groups of age-matched patients. 4 groups of age-matched patients, and in 9 patients with Wilson's disease of comparable age. What's Wilson's disease? It's where they don't make enough ceruloplasmin to protect themselves from copper. They have plenty of copper in their system. For those of you who love copper, they have plenty of copper in their system. They don't have enough ceruloplasmin, which is the protein to protect them from the free copper. Gosh, you mean copper's toxic? Oh, let's see. Neutron activation analysis of hepatic copper concentration. So they're looking at the liver copper concentration. Revealed markedly elevated hepatic liver copper levels comparable with those in Wilson's disease in 13 of 15 patients with intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood. Intrahepatic cholestasis is where the liver itself, either the liver cells or the bile ducts, the teeny tiny bile ducts in the liver, think of them like capillaries, the tiniest blood vessels. Well, you have teeny tiny bile ducts in your liver. Inside the liver, so somewhere inside the liver, whether it's on the teeny tiny bile ducts or the liver cells are leaking bile. And it's going into the bloodstream. That's intrahepatic cholestasis. Okay. So markedly elevated copper levels comparable with those in Wilson's disease, people who cannot get rid of copper and cannot protect themselves from copper well. Comparable copper levels in those kids with intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood. 13 of 15. Well, that's a pretty high percentage. In one patient, autopsy confirmed. But they're saying all the kids in this study, all the childhood, the kids, all the children already have intrahepatic cholestasis or they're Wilson's disease. In one patient, autopsy confirmed very high liver copper values, whereas other tissues, including brain and kidney, gave normal results. Do you see how this is already becoming challenging? They're saying the brain and the kidneys had normal amounts of copper in them, but the liver was very high. Total plasma copper levels were elevated in 11 of 13 patients with intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood. 24-hour urinary copper excretion was normal in 7 of 12 patients and slightly elevated in 5. I hope you're seeing how this starts to get confusing. They have 11 of them, 11 of the 13 with high plasma copper, but yet 24-hour urinary copper excretion was normal in 7 of those 12 and only slightly elevated in 5. Do you see how this is becoming hard to find even in people they know have severe liver problems? Do you start to understand why I do both hair and blood copper levels? Because it's not easy to find. People who just do hair analysis trying to tell you have hidden copper toxicity or outright copper toxicity, they're generally lost. They have no idea of what's going on when they just do hair testing unless they get lucky. So, Kaiser-Fleischer rings were sought in 10 patients and were absent. That's a sign in your eye of copper toxicity. They couldn't find that sign of copper toxicity in 10 of the patients, in all 10 that they looked at it for. Here's the kicker. Hepatic liver copper concentration was not accurately predicted by plasma copper or 24-hour urinary copper. I'm going to take out hepatic there. I'm just going to say it. Liver copper concentration was not accurately predicted by plasma copper or 24-hour urinary copper. And people are out there with a hair test by itself trying to say this is going to tell us if you have copper toxicity or not. Why do I do blood and hair? Because it gives me the best view. Can people still be copper toxic and still look totally normal on the hair test and totally normal on the blood test? Yes. Do I generally assume that people are copper toxic? I act like it, yeah. However, increased urinary copper excretion was associated with hepatic copper concentration greater than 250 micrograms per gram. So they say that once your liver concentration of copper gets above a certain point, then they see the urinary stuff go up. So you have to be, do you remember how I said that by the time your blood copper is high, or your hair, or definitely your blood copper's high, you're guaranteed toxic. Guaranteed in the liver, toxic. Here they're saying once people get toxic enough in the liver, their urinary copper starts going up, but only once they get to a certain toxicity level. And now here's the apologetics, the like making excuses part. It is concluded that copper metabolism is abnormal in intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood and can be distinguished from Wilson's disease. And then only if hepatic copper concentration, liver copper concentration is greater than 250 micrograms per gram, what they could find on urine copper testing, copper chelation therapy should be considered. Copper causes cholestasis. Copper causes the very liver injury that causes it to then accumulate and then put bile into the blood. What does the bile contain? Copper. Your liver puts bile or copper into bile to get rid of it. I hope you're following this. I know this is not easy. For those of you who may be new to this, here's the thing. Excess copper is bad. Fighting copper is generally good. If you take too much zinc, you can still become zinc toxic. So if you do stupid things with zinc on your own, that's your bad. That's not my bad. I'm not telling you how much zinc to take. I tell my clients how much zinc to take, and I watch them very carefully through the support I give them when they work with me, where they could come and talk to me about troubleshooting and anything they need twice a week for those people who work directly with me on testing and consultation. The office hours is what it's called. It's lots of fun. People get to learn a lot in there. There was a lot of zinc and copper stuff going on this week. I think it's something in the space weather. If you guys don't pay attention to space weather, the solar flares in the last 2 days, like my app on my phone is going off like nonstop with solar flares. There is something very interesting going on. So anyway, so let's go into that. So what I'm telling you is that I still get people who listen to this and then come and post on the network or they post other places and they're like, my copper level was fine. I don't have copper toxicity. Why do I have symptoms of copper toxicity? Because blood doesn't tell you what's in your liver. We're going to go over another paper here. Reversible hepatotoxicity. Oh, so you mean it's reversible. Associated with hepatic vitamin A accumulation in a protein deficient patient. That paper. There's so much here in this title. Just in the title. Reversible hepatotoxicity associated. So reversible. Can you fix the liver damage? Yes. Associated with hepatic liver vitamin A accumulation. Oh, wait, let me just interject there. People who say you don't store vitamin A in your liver, let me help you. For those of you who have a little trouble with your vocabulary. Storing and accumulating are the same thing. In a protein deficient patient, one of the things I tell people on my program is absolute minimum of 50 grams, 50 grams of total protein from all sources a day. You would be amazed at how many people do not even get 50 grams of protein a day. For those of you out there who eat plenty of meat, you'll be sitting there looking around going, I don't understand how people don't get 50 grams of protein a day. And me being a meat eater, I really enjoy meat. I sit there and I go, I don't know how either. But there are people like let's just say somebody ate even one hamburger patty a day. I'm going to go by the hamburger patties that I buy. They have 25 grams of protein in them. It's a third of a pound. That's 25 grams of protein a day. Let's say that's the meat that somebody ate in the day, and the rest of what they ate was plant-based foods. Even though they ate a third of a pound hamburger in a day, they still may not get to 50 grams of protein a day. Okay. So let me look at this. Let me find this paper so I can put it in here. Oh, I did put it in there. A 62-year-old white male presented with edema, swelling, protein malnutrition, and abnormal liver function. He had ingested from 40,000 to 50,000 IU of vitamin A per day for 7 years. Do you understand how long it can take you to develop toxicity from vitamin A? It can take a very, very long time. This is why so many people out there unwisely go, well, I'm doing fine on my vitamin A. I eat liver like once or 3 times a week or whatever, and I'm fine. It's probably not going to happen to me. Remember this saying, my car worked fine until it broke. Lots of little mistakes lead to a catastrophic problem. So they took a biopsy of this guy. Examination of liver tissue by light and electron microscopy revealed findings characteristic of an excessive accumulation of vitamin A. Liver tissue contained massive amounts of vitamin A. However, both the serum concentration of vitamin A, the blood vitamin A, serum retinol, and retinol binding protein were below normal. And serum retinol binding protein was not saturated. On a normal diet, the patient was able to mobilize hepatic vitamin A as indicated 71 days later by a repeat biopsy of the liver, which then contained 9,000 units of vitamin A per gram. During this time, his nutrition improved, serum vitamin A rose, and serum retinol binding protein became transiently saturated. The amount of vitamin A ingested by this patient was less than usually producing recognizable hepatotoxicity, liver toxicity. And he had no extrahepatic manifestations of vitamin toxicity consistent with a low serum vitamin A concentration and a low vitamin A to retinol binding protein ratio. At presentation, he was apparently unable to normally mobilize vitamin A from his liver, which may have been due to an accompanying protein deficiency. I have talked about this before on my live streams. What can cause cholestasis? What did they use in an oral contraceptive study, birth control pills study in mice or rats to induce cholestasis or liver injury? A low protein diet. Hello, vegans. That's one of the things that can cause cholestasis. What happens when you get cholestasis? You start backing up toxic stuff into your liver and into your bile. This man, there's a chart in here. Table 1. Week after admission. No, sorry, it's week after admission number 2, week 2. His serum vitamin A was 18. That is technically, if you go by the LabCorp standards, that's technically deficient in vitamin A. He was deficient in vitamin A after getting 40,000 to 50,000 units of vitamin A a day. That's a lot. For 7 years, his blood was low in vitamin A. In week 10, his vitamin A had gone up to 62. He had more than tripled in vitamin A. When he stopped eating so much vitamin A, they probably told him, stop eating the stupid sweet potatoes and the carrots and the spinach and the kale and taking the vitamin A supplement or the cod liver oil or eating liver or what. They just told him to stop being so dumb about excessive vitamin A. So in 8 weeks, the vitamin A in his blood tripled. When he stopped eating it, do you see how this connects to the copper thing? They said the blood copper and even the urine copper didn't correlate to what was actually in the liver. Oh, and like this guy's his alkaline phosphatase, which is a liver enzyme, week 1 was 1,075, which is really high. They're giving a normal range of 30 to 110. So over 12 weeks, weeks 1, he was 1,075. Week 12, he was 65. What? Yep, 65. Checking that small number on my screen. So he went from 10 times normal to normal. SGOT, which I think is SGOT, I forget if SGPT is AST and SGOT is ALT. So it's one of the AST or ALT. I don't remember right now. I don't care. It's not that important. It's one of the liver enzymes. It's probably ALT. Doesn't matter. The normal range they give here is from 10 to 40. When he started in week 1, he was 313. By the week 12, he was down to 47. So he was almost within normal range. Bilirubin. Oh, also known as bilirubin, which is how I say it. Oh, so do you know that elevated liver enzymes are one potential indicator of cholestasis, and that elevated bilirubin in the blood is another indicator of cholestasis, liver injury? His bilirubin, the normal range being 0.2 to 1.0 that they give here, it was 2.7 at the start, week 1, 2.7 times higher than the high end of the range. And by the end, in week 12, it was 0.4. He was within normal range. He stopped being stupid about vitamin A. Now, do I think his liver is fixed by the end? No, because like in week 12, his liver vitamin A, they did a biopsy. It was still at 9,000 IUs per gram. What do they give here as the normal value? 100 to, I think that's a 6. No, it's a 500. It's a 5. 100 to 500. He's still like, what is 900 divided? He's still 18 times higher than the high end of the normal range. Okay. Is he out of this? No, not by any means. No. They'll be like, oh, things are looking normal. He's okay. And no, you're not okay. $40,000 to 50,000 units of vitamin A day for 7 years. And his blood vitamin A is low. We have kids with intrahepatic cholestasis of childhood. They look at their liver and their serum concentrations, and they say, and the serum and the urine, and they say, these don't correlate to how much is in the liver until it gets way beyond a certain level. How do I work with this? Well, those of you who have been here a while know that I like to think I was gifted at pattern recognition, and I look at symptoms, and I look at labs, and I look at histories of what people have been doing, and I look at especially the symptoms, and we use all of that to work with somebody. I do not treat people like their lab tests. If you get somebody where your would you rather have perfect lab tests and feel like hot garbage, or would you rather have lab tests that like as you're going through treatment that look kind of funky, maybe they even look worse, but you start to feel amazing? I work with the second, because if detox is real, it's going to show up in your labs. And I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to, what a lot of practitioners do, maybe you've worked with these practitioners, they're often called functional medicine practitioners, is it almost seems like they don't care about your symptoms. They just want to make your blood tests look good. Those of you who are functional medicine practitioners and listening, you should stop doing this. This is why I abandoned the functional medicine paradigm, is because it's just giving a crap load of supplements to people to force their labs into the ranges that you think is optimal. I did this for a while. I took one of the leading courses in it, and I watched people spend tons of money on supplements, and their labs would often improve, but they didn't get any better. So I abandoned it, because I only care about people getting better. Making lab tests look better, forcing lab tests into ranges doesn't do squat. You may actually be causing them more damage. You could shut down bile production and make labs look better all of a sudden. Wow, isn't that weird? Isn't that what I think a lot of supplements do that are not essential vitamins and minerals that I give based on testing and symptoms? Okay. So, there was the first question here. I'm not going to be here as long today, but we're getting into the questions now. Remember, if you ever want a question to jump to the top, there's always super chats. That is one way to get your question to the top if you want to get it answered. So that kind of took care of Pierre's question. Can kids be born with liver problems? Absolutely. That's called jaundice. Something like 60 or 80% of kids are born with jaundice today. What is jaundice? Oh, it's an excess of bilirubin building up in the skin, bilirubin building up in the skin. And what does medicine do for it? They're like, we're going to put you under a lamp to break down the bilirubin so your baby looks normal again. We don't care what's going on in his liver, their liver. We're just going to make your baby look normal again. We're just going to break it down in the skin. Do you see how little they care? Gosh, conventional medicine covering up symptoms? Would they do such a thing? If you were born with jaundice, you were born with a liver injury. You were born with cholestasis, bile in the blood. The placenta is a third liver. Don't ever eat it. Throw it away. Don't eat it. I don't care what the hippies say. They're wrong. Your placenta is a toxic bag of waste. That's why it's not supposed to be around anymore. That's why it's thrown away. I think when they poisoned the mice and the rats in the Rodol study, I think they found 3 to 5 times higher than the toxic level of vitamin A in the placenta. And the newborns were not as bad as that. The placenta was accumulating it because the placenta was supposed to be discarded. Okay? Don't eat it. So Sir Vancelot says, is voting Democrat a sign of bile dumping? No, it would probably be a sign of a sick liver, though. He said, joking. I'm not. What do you think of reactivated Epstein-Barr virus? Liver-related or no? Well, it just so happens that the great Anthony Mawson has written a paper on this. Let me go post it. Anytime you want to do a fun search to see if cholestasis and vitamin A toxicity has been linked to any condition that you're interested in, just go on pubmed.gov and search for Mawson and the technical term of whatever disease you want to search for. Malaria, Epstein-Barr virus infection, and the pathogenesis of Burkitt's lymphoma by Anthony Mawson and Suvankar Majumdar. Okay. I'm just going to read this abstract. A geographical and causal connection has long been recognized between malaria, Epstein-Barr virus infection, and Burkitt's lymphoma, but the underlying mechanisms remain obscure. Potential clues are that the malaria parasite Plasmodium falciparum selectively absorbs vitamin A from the host and depends on it for its biological activities. Secondly, alterations in vitamin A retinoid metabolism have been implicated in many forms of cancer, including Burkitt's lymphoma. The first author has proposed that the Merozoite stage malaria parasite emerging from the liver uses its absorbed vitamin A as a cell membrane destabilizer to invade the red blood cells, causing anemia and other signs and symptoms of the disease as manifestations of an endogenous from within form of hypervitaminosis A. That's vitamin A toxicity. Repeated episodes of malaria would therefore be expected to expose the tissues of affected individuals to potentially toxic doses of vitamin A. It is proposed that such episodes activate latent Epstein-Barr virus infection, which in turn activates retinoid responsive genes. Expression of these genes enhances viral replication and induces germinal center B cell expansion, activation-induced cytidine deaminase expression, and CMYC translocation, which in turn predisposes to Burkitt's lymphoma. Let me just finish. I know that sentence was pretty confusing. This is a simplification here. Thus, an endogenous form of retinoid toxicity related to malaria infection may be the common factor linking frequent malaria, Epstein-Barr virus infection, and Burkitt's lymphoma, whereby prolonged exposure of lymphatic tissues to high concentrations of retinoids may combine to induce B cell translocation and increase the risk of Burkitt's lymphoma. A lot of stuff there, but what I'm going to say, I'm going to simplify this. I personally do not believe the modern theories of virus, the modern virus theory at all. Modern virus theory is garbage. It is. What do I believe viruses are? They are some sort of expression of toxicity in the system. Whatever they are calling this, Epstein-Barr virus, is an expression of toxicity. Do you see how when he's saying in here, repeated episodes of malaria, I just said it was toxicity, right? Repeated episodes of malaria would therefore be expected to expose the tissues of affected individuals to potentially toxic doses of vitamin A. It is proposed that such episodes activate latent Epstein-Barr virus infection. Is it that it was a latent infection, or is it a reactivated toxicity that then makes these things we call viruses show up? It makes much more sense that what we call viruses are expressions of toxicity in the system rather than these little proteins that can't move floating around and then going into us and doing things. Okay. Gosh, what might cause these proteins to show up? I don't know. Toxicity causing changes in the cells? If you want to keep thinking that viruses are, some attack on your system and you're a victim, that's not what I do here. We're taking control of this stuff. And we see viral loads go down as people get the vitamin A out of themselves and the copper out of themselves and all this stuff. So that's my take on viruses in a nutshell. If you haven't seen Anthony Mawson's papers on CUFID, you should read those too. Okay, David, who is also in the Love Your Liver program. Hi, David. David's a super awesome researcher. He says, I like the expression walk it off. Exercise is important for things like increased blood flow. How important do you view exercise as part of detox? Okay. Exercise increases bile dumping, bile production and bile dumping. So this is a key concept of what we do here. It is the toxic bile leaking into your blood, cholestasis from liver injury, that is the root cause of your chronic health problems. So that is the root cause. But yet, we have to get rid of that toxic bile. We need that to go into the bile pathway, the liver to the bile ducts to the intestines to be pooped out. I mean, can it go back into the blood, and can the kidneys get rid of some of it, and can the skin get rid of some of it? Yes, but those are not optimal pathways. Then we tend to get kidney damage and we tend to get skin problems. It's not fun. Those of you who have skin problems, you're pushing toxic bile out through your skin because your liver and your kidneys cannot get rid of whatever it is that's coming at them, whatever component is coming at them that is then coming out of your skin. That toxic bile, just like I told you earlier, it damages the very liver cells that create it. It damages the bile ducts in the liver. It causes scarring in the other bile ducts. It comes out your skin. It does the same thing. This is how toxic it is. Stop having this lovey-dovey fantasy about bile being such a wonderful thing. If we make bile and the bile stays in the bile pathway and it's not toxic, the bile does all the stuff it's supposed to do. I definitely am not trying to get people to stop making bile. That's the exact opposite of what I do. But we must make bile to get rid of it. Many things slow down bile production. If you slow down bile production and you have too much of it going back into your blood instead of out the poop chute, if you want, out that route, you build up toxins in your blood and they just keep recycling to your liver. So you may not be making enough, but it's also just recycling and it goes right back to your liver and it doesn't escape. But we have to make bile to get rid of the toxicity. See how this is like it's a catch-22? So we need to make sure we're increasing your bile production, but we also need to make sure that we're not increasing it too fast because you're already leaking it into your blood. This is why so many people, when they start trying to detox, they feel so bad. Whether they're doing my approach or not, I'm constantly telling people to slow down. Stop forcing this because they're like, I don't know why I feel so bad. I just did everything on the program at once. I'm like, that's not what I said to do. Slow it down, champ. But you don't know where your limits are until you find them. So what does everybody do? They go and they find their limits, and then everybody's going, I don't know what's happening. I'm going, I already told you, slow it down. The toxic bile is the solution to your health problems. Getting rid of it, it's also the cause of your health problems. This is the part that will be really difficult for people to understand. So exercise. Let's get into exercise. Exercise causes bile dumping. Let me find the Husky study. Okay. Effect of exercise on the mobilization of retinol and retinyl esters in plasma of sled dogs. So sometimes we have to extrapolate or draw conclusions from what papers are showing us. I'm telling you that exercise increases bile production and bile dumping. What does our body put into bile to try to get rid of it? Vitamin A. How is vitamin A stored in the liver? As retinyl esters. So if we suddenly saw an increase of retinyl esters in the blood, where is that likely coming from? The liver, the bile, leaking into the blood, which is not supposed to do. So let's see. Let me find this part. This study was carried out on 41 trained adult sled dogs, which were randomly assigned into two groups. One group, 19 dogs, was daily substituted with 50 milligrams DL alpha tocopherol acetate. That is like, I'm not a fan of vitamin E, but that's like the worst form of vitamin E you could give. Totally synthetic. Per kilogram body weight, and the control group of 22 dogs was maintained on a basal diet during 3 months prior to exercise. Okay, so one group got vitamin E, and one group got the normal diet. The plasma concentrations of retinol, retinyl esters, alpha tocopherol, and triglycerides were measured immediately before, directly after, and 24 hours after exercise. The supplementation of alpha tocopherol acetate had no effect on plasma retinol and retinyl ester concentrations at any measurement time point. However, retinyl ester levels doubled in the non-supplemented group immediately after the race. Whereas in the supplementing group, they're talking about vitamin E. Similar high levels were observed not until 24 hours post-racing. The high levels of retinyl esters were paralleled to some extent by an increase in plasma triglyceride concentrations, which were significantly higher 24 hours post-racing than immediately before and after exercise in both groups. The increase in retinyl ester concentrations might be indicative of their mobilization from liver and adipose tissues. What's the most likely place it came from? The liver, via the bile, into the blood. Cholestasis. Do they feed dogs vitamin A in their rations? Of course they do. Does it cause problems in dogs too? Yes, you can find this in the research. Go watch my eating liver is poison video on this channel. You can find out, there's lots of animals that have been poisoned from people feeding them liver, especially cats and dogs too. People feed their animals liver and they get sick. People feed their children liver and they get sick. There is one case of a child dying from their mother feeding them chicken liver pate. Weston Pricers. Don't kill your kids. Okay. So back to this. Exercise mobilizes, produces vitamin A. Okay. It produces bile, which has vitamin A in it. We see the vitamin A in those sled dogs, whether it was right after exercise or whether it was 24 hours exercise. People wonder, well, why does this affect this person right away? And why does this affect me a day or two later? Because of other factors. There's all sorts of factors. So, exercise produces and dumps bile. Different people's thresholds for what triggers an amount of bile dump that is going to cause them problems is different. Let's say you have somebody, I'm going to give you an example here, somebody who has fibromyalgia. They're fibromyalgia folks, if you, ladies especially, men too, but fibromyalgia, if you didn't know, is mostly hitting females. You're super toxic. Okay. You have very toxic bile. And these, let's say fibromyalgia people will be like, I go and I try to exercise and it just ruins me for days. What'd you do? You dumped a bunch of toxic bile and it leaked into your blood and you don't feel good. Okay. As people do things that get them better, all of a sudden their exercise tolerance goes up. They can tolerate more exercise before they feel bad. Is moving your body generally considered a good thing? Yes. If somebody's really sick when they come to me, what might their exercise be? It might be walking 1,000 steps in a day, because anything more than that triggers too much bile dumping. As they get better, we've had people on the network say that they're actually they were never exercisers before, but they're starting to crave exercise. They're starting to want to move their body. Your body wants to move, but it also wants to protect itself. And it knows that if you exercise too much and you trigger too much bile dumping, you're going to feel like hot garbage. So what do we say about exercise? In terms of it, I call it an agitator on the vitamin A program, on the Love Your Liver system. How much exercise can I do, Dr. Smith? What type of exercise can I do? First of all, do the type of exercise that feels good to you. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. It's very simple. I like doing body weight gymnastic strength training and knees over toes guy stuff. I love it. I would work out every day if I had the time. And I do try to. And walking. Lots of walking. Backwards walking. Hill walking. Weighted vest walking. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I'm something like 4 years in almost. There was a period of time during my detox where I didn't feel much like exercising. I was pushing bile dumping really hard. Like I was getting way too much soluble fiber in a day. Did I make all the same mistakes that people in the program make and that I advocate against? Yes. How do I know it? Because I did it myself. I push the limits. I lead from the front. I do what I tell people to do. So, is exercise generally good? Yes, as long as it is not increasing your symptoms. Simple as that. So if you can exercise and you don't feel significantly worse, so muscle soreness, if you do a new exercise, you're going to be sore. The more you trigger bile dumping, the more sore you're going to get. So it'd be better to start very slow, even if it's just walking for exercise, for movement. If you want to call it movement, then call it movement. Don't call it exercise. Move your body. That's generally good for you. If you do too much and you feel significantly worse, you did too much. Do less next time. As you get less toxic, doing all the things that are in the love your liver system, and I do mean all, there's more and more people who think they can just get away with doing things that are not in there. I think it's going to bite them in the butt later, but people are going to do what they're going to do. Don't do too much exercise for yourself at any stage of your process. As you get healthier, you will tolerate more exercise, you will tolerate harder exercise, and you will want more exercise. If your body right now is saying, don't, or I can take just a little, then do that amount. Don't go and think that, I'm going to hire a personal trainer to kick my ass even though I'm sick, and then wonder why you're getting worse. And then all of a sudden your body's saying, please don't go exercise. Please, I'm going to make you hate it. I'm going to make you feel bad. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. If your body's talking to you like that, doc, it hurts when I do this, then don't do that. This should not be challenging. If you're sick and somebody's like, you have to exercise a bunch to get better, and you are not getting better, and you double down and you exercise more thinking you're just going to break through it, no, because they're not getting rid of your toxicity. If you had a race car and you never clean the engine, you never maintain the engine, and you put crappy gas in it and you let the oil sit so long that it gets dirty and nasty, do you think that race car is going to run well? Do you think taking that car out to the racetrack and trying to drive it harder to make it run better is going to work? If you don't know the answer, no, it will make it break down and deteriorate faster. Cars don't self-heal. You can if you do the right things. But you can also break yourself down faster. Like in the copper study, the one about the biliary atresia, the cholestasis, where there was not enough zinc and the liver cells broke down faster from the copper. Are you seeing what I'm saying? If you don't have the right stuff in, what do we do here? What do we do here? Stop putting the toxins in the body. A lot of you who are here understand what some of the toxins are that I talk about that are not commonly talked about, like vitamin A being a poison. We stop putting toxins in the body as much as we are able to. We help the body get rid of the stored toxins, which it excretes in the bile. The part that a lot of people try to do on their own, or they don't do at all, or the ones who get a lot of benefit do it through working with me, is we want to put the essential minerals back in the system to both protect you against the toxicity that you already have and to help your liver run better so you can then get rid of the toxins that are already there. That's what we do here. That is the simplified version of what we do here. You can go and try to figure all this out on the internet and watch my stuff and try to glean all of it for free. It's a lot easier to just join the Love Your Liver program, where there's 1,300 plus people who can help you with answering your questions about what's going on. And then if you work with me, you get access to me and the office hours and the consult and all that stuff. So, but the minerals part is the part that I'm going to discuss this real quick. Grant Genereux put out his 8-year low vitamin A diet update. Some little things have been creeping up on him. Now, somebody's going to be like, it's vitamin A toxicity creeping up in 8 years later. No, that's not it, smarty pants. Don't you think it would have shown up a little sooner than 8 years? Like for the people who were with me early, who wrote some blog posts saying, we got vitamin A deficiency symptoms 6 months in. No, you didn't. Nowhere in the research is that possible. Anyway, so Grant started getting some little minor things popping up. I'm going to use this as an example. Imagine if, let's say, as I've stated before and as I've shown in the research, let's say all the foods are depleted in nutrients. Most of us here know this, right? We understand this. And let's say, even in the course of trying to eat really good, you're going to be exposed to glyphosate. Okay. You know that glyphosate was originally intended to be a scaling agent for like industrial boilers. A descale? What is scale? It's minerals. It's mineral deposits. Glyphosate was originally a descaling agent to suck minerals off of the sides of metal. Gosh, what do you think it does in your body? Do you think it grabs minerals? Yeah. Do you think you're able to completely avoid glyphosate? No, it's in the rivers, it's in the rain, it's in the lakes, it's everywhere. They're now starting to show like coral reefs are made of minerals, right? They're now starting to show that glyphosate is starting to really is what is affecting the coral reefs. Do you think this would affect you? Do you think it can still get in you even if you're trying to eat totally organic? Yeah. So the food's depleted. There's things in the environment that are depleting us. And then you have people. Grant is doing an amazing thing. I admire Grant beyond belief for doing his diet, his beef or bison, black beans, and white and or brown rice. He's been doing that diet for that basic diet for like 8 years. Now, in the past, he has stated that when he took some zinc supplements, on occasion, he felt better. What does that mean to me? He's zinc deficient. Simple. If you feel better from an essential mineral, like you use magnesium spray and all of a sudden you feel better, you're deficient in that. That should be so obvious, right? So do I think he's zinc deficient? Yes. What if his diet, just to pick one mineral, doesn't provide him enough zinc? Over time, do you think that zinc deficiency would slowly worsen? If you have a problem in your car and you don't address it, does it fix itself automatically? Never, never, ever. It only gets worse. It only deteriorates, like that study about the zinc deficiency in the liver. So let's just say somebody, Grant or other people, decides to do, I'm not going to do supplements. I don't think supplements are necessary. And then you ask them, do you think that the food is deficient in nutrients? And they go, yes. Can you do the math? If the food is deficient in nutrients and you won't take supplements, and we all starting to learn that the detox itself uses up extra nutrients, extra zinc, extra molybdenum, extra selenium, where do you think their status on, let's say, zinc is going to go? It's going to slowly go down. And they're going to start to see more and more symptoms of whatever that deficiency is. So if you're out there insisting, reconcile those two things. The food is nutrient depleted. I refuse to take supplements. You refuse to take supplements. Do you see where this ends? It doesn't end in a good place. So when people who do any kind of detox, when they are not repleted, when they have no idea where their mineral levels are because they don't test, you have no idea where you are. If you don't have a map, you don't know where you are. Zinc is involved in over 200 enzyme systems in the body. You get a deficiency, where can that show up? Any of 200 places? What's your weak link? I don't know. It'll show up as a symptom. Now, I can tell you molybdenum levels. Let's just talk about molybdenum levels. Molybdenum is critical for copper metabolism or detoxification in the body. Molybdenum is a copper antagonist. Molybdenum is necessary for proper iron metabolism in the body. I have a paper showing that molybdenum, as it relates to both, well, to iron overload, molybdenum deficiency is involved in both iron overload and iron deficiency. Weird. Now, I can tell you that watching hair tests for as long as I have, probably 6 years ago, I used to be able to tell people that if you got a cup of beans a day, which was the highest source of food molybdenum, that they could maintain their molybdenum levels. It used to work. Does that work anymore? No. There's people on the Love Your Liver program eating way more than a cup of beans a day, and their molybdenum is still deficient. So are we saying that in those last 6-ish years that the soil has gotten even lower in molybdenum? Somebody could conclude that. What long-term happens to molybdenum deficiency? Well, your ALDH, which is a very important detox enzyme, requires it. Sulfite oxidase, which is a very important sulfur detoxing enzyme pathway, requires it. Xanthine oxidase, which is your caffeine metabolizing pathway, and also xanthine oxidase can help detox vitamin A. ALDH requires molybdenum. That helps detox vitamin A. Xanthine oxidase detoxes your caffeine, but it also detoxes some vitamin A. People tend to get fungal or yeast infections when they are low in molybdenum. A lot of stuff. So if people don't figure out their molybdenum, and I'm telling you that I've watched the molybdenum level in foods, even though Grant's eating beans, I've watched the molybdenum level go down in people's hair tests over time. Is this going to result in a molybdenum deficiency? That's what I've seen. So could people who are insisting on not taking supplements and who are not being tested, could they develop and aggravate, exacerbate mineral issues? Yes. Am I blaming Grant for anything he's doing? Grant is doing one of the greatest services to humanity I know of. So if anyone were to say I was speaking poorly of this man, you don't understand our relationship. He is a friend of mine. Is it possible that he has a zinc deficiency or a molybdenum deficiency or a selenium deficiency that are slowly worsening? Why not? How would we know? There's no testing. What is one of my sayings? Test, don't guess, then address. Where do I look at zinc? I look at zinc in both blood and hair. Selenium is best in a hair test. Molybdenum is best in a hair test. For those of you out there testing red blood cell tests, in my opinion, are complete garbage. I can have people with a red blood cell test that looks just fine or even high normal on magnesium, and their hair test magnesium relative to calcium is just garbage. And they say, I feel better when I take magnesium. And I'm like, you're deficient. Red blood cell mineral tests, in my opinion, are complete garbage. Remember what I talked about earlier, 95, they make the normal ranges to fit 95% of the people. I'm going to tell you that almost no one who comes to me who is not already supplementing selenium or eating a relatively good amount of Brazil nuts on a regular basis, no one has good selenium levels. So if they don't have good selenium levels on a hair test, but you go and look at red blood cell selenium levels, and 95% of people are normal, and let's say the selenium levels were shifting down over time, they just shift the range down. Maybe if we looked at red blood cell selenium levels from 30 years ago, well, they'd probably be higher. Do we have that data? I don't know how to find it. So And oh, wait, I've seen selenium levels on hair tests generally going down, and it's been harder to bring them up because the food is more deficient. So if you're a person out there who insists on only eating food, good luck with that. You're probably not going to make it in terms of mineral deficiency because you don't even know if it's there. I've had people require 5 milligrams to bring up their zinc levels on the blood and hair test. I've had people require way more than that. And I'm not giving you numbers because then people out there are going to do dumb things with the numbers I give you because you're not testing. The only people who ever come to me with adequate zinc levels, for example, are people who are like all muscle meat carnivores. They're eating like 2 pounds or more of meat a day. Personally, I love beef, but am I going to eat all beef all day long every day? No, I don't care if it was like, if it fixed every problem I ever had. I'm not doing it. I don't think humans were designed to do that either. And yet, when I get these all muscle meat carnivores, obviously they're coming to me because they're not well, or else they wouldn't be talking to me. So the all muscle meat carnivores will be like, yay, they have the best zinc. Okay, yeah, it's perfect diet for humans. Then I go, but their selenium sucks and their molybdenum sucks. And their magnesium sucks. What are we celebrating? They're coming to me because they have health problems. Obviously, the all muscle meat carnivore diet didn't fix all their problems. So, but yes, pat yourself on the back. You have good copper levels and adequate zinc levels without supplementing. But then we got to fix all the other things. And I don't think an all muscle meat carnivore diet gets rid of bile well because there's nothing to soak up the bile so that you can poop it out. Somebody sent, let me see. Hold on. We have a lot of questions today. Psoriasis. Ilyas Hussein asked, could I talk about psoriasis? Let me see. There was another one. Oh, there it is. Let me get to the first one. Jill. Okay, sorry. I skipped yours, Jill. I see it now. I'll get to these two questions and then we're done. Can toxic bile / copper toxicity cause seborrheic keratosis? Mine seem to have lightened up a bit since incorporating love your liver principles. Nice testimonial there. Yes. Okay, so are these things related? Seborrheic keratosis. Seborrhea is often yellow, right? Here, let's just, well, go and I'm just going to do this. Let's do seborrhea image. I'm just doing a quick search on DuckDuckGo. Let's just, if I recall correctly, I've seen plenty of people with seborrhea and it's often yellow. There it is. Yeah, seborrheic keratosis. There it is, yellow flaky stuff. Okay. And why don't we just, I'm going to group in, Ilyas, your question about psoriasis. Can I talk about psoriasis? So we're just going to talk about skin conditions, okay? Let me just do a quick search. Well, they're not really telling me. So here we go. Here's the paper, non-targeted metabolomics or metabolomics, however you want to say it. Often means they're testing bile acids. I put that link in there. Non-targeted metabolomics of intestinal flora in seborrheic patients based on ultra-high performance liquid chromatography, quadrupole time of flight mass spectrometry techniques. Fecal samples were collected from 5 seborrheic patients and 5 healthy controls. So it's a stool sample. Okay. I'm going to go to the full article. I'm waiting for it to come up. Let me go see. Okay. total of 45 metabolites with significantly different intensities were found between the Seborrheic group and the healthy control group. In addition, 11 metabolic pathways were significantly altered, including 4 amino acid metabolic pathways, 2 bile acid metabolic pathways, and 2 basic metabolic signaling pathways. Let me see if I can find the next marker of where they mention bile. So they did an analysis of the metabolic components of fecal samples. They mainly included amino acids and their derivatives, followed by bile acids, bile salts, and their derivatives. So we got bile stuff going on. Shocking, right? They not. Where's the chart? I need to look at this chart. Where's the chart? Jiminy Christmas. I don't quite understand this graph. Anyway, there's a graph where they talk about bile secretion, and it's got a big circle on it. They have different size circles as metabolite number, and what is the top thing? Negative log 10 p-value 3.0. So the bile secretion is pretty high on their log scale, and it's big on their metabolite number. So I just don't have a lot of, I don't feel like it's going to save a lot of time or be very productive to try to look through all of this. But anyway, basically, they're connecting bile in the poop and different types of bile acids and that stuff to seborrhea. Seborrheic patients, yes. So the occurrence of seborrhea may be related to changes in intestinal flora and metabolic pathways. Well, what would affect intestinal flora? Maybe toxic bile. Psoriasis. I'm going to go over, I'm just going to say with psoriasis real quick. Ilyas, I used to have psoriasis. It was specifically it used to be right there. And I'd sometimes get it right there. I got it when I was a teenager. It's gone. Did I go into this? I used to notice, as I was developing, the Love Your Liver system, I would pay attention to, do things make it better or not? And as I slowly figured out things in this whole system on myself, the psoriasis would slowly get better until it was finally gone. Let me do psoriasis and bile. Oops, not PubMed. We want PubMed. Oh, I remember this paper. Okay. This is going to be the weird thing. So I'm going to prepare you guys. What is coming? And David Hagerston, since I mentioned him earlier, went over this. What I'm going to tell you is that the research world, to get ahead of this, is going to start saying that bile in your blood or certain bile acids in your blood is a good thing. They're going to start saying it's like a signaling molecule. It's coming. It's already started. And you're going to start seeing studies where they're going to try to push bile acids, like treatment with bile acids like UDCA and TUDCA, which are secondary bile acids, which everybody's known as toxic for so long. Here's this paper's Pathophysiology of Psoriasis, coping endotoxins with bile acid therapy. They're going to give people bile acids. Here we say, to conclude, the results obtained suggest that psoriasis can be treated with success by oral bile acid supplementation, presumably affecting the microflora and endotoxins released and their uptake in the gut. How did I fix my psoriasis without taking bile acids? Who knows? Oh, I don't know. A total of 800 psoriasis patients participated in the study, and 551 were treated with oral bile acids, as in dehydrocholic acid, supplementation for 1 to 8 weeks. Is that a long-term study? Is 8 weeks long-term? No. Can you drive these problems deeper? This is a big thing in natural medicine, where you drive problems deeper by shutting things down. It's a big progression in kids, where you see the kid first has they get poked, and then they start to develop allergies, and they get poked again, and they start to develop asthma, and they get poked again, and they start to develop skin problems like psoriasis and eczema. The problem is being driven deeper. It's shifted into a different problem. So when modern medicine tells you that, let's say, the psoriasis went away, that doesn't mean that other problems didn't pop up. They don't care about the other problems. They're not assessing the other problems. Taking bile acids does not solve a single problem. It may reduce symptoms. It could shift the problem into something else. I've had people who read this paper and they took bile acids and they got worse. They're not going to mention those people in this paper. So this is coming. They're going to start saying that even though, like, diabetes people have twice as much bile acids in their blood than non-diabetics. I saw this paper the other day where somebody was trying to talk about on Instagram, like, oh, this DHA, not DHA, it was DCA, deoxycholic acid. They were like, the more of this in your blood in a longevity model of mice, the longer the mice lived. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. The longevity people are the worst. They are the worst. Anti-aging doctors like die early all the time. They're the worst. Listen to them the least. They take cell studies and they think they're useful. Cell studies are mostly garbage. That's how they hide toxicity from you, because there's only one turnover of cells. They don't show you long-term. They don't show you in the whole system. It's almost like they're trying to hide the toxic effects long-term from you. So, seborrhea is a bitch to get rid of. That's deep. And like, oftentimes, I'm just going to be honest with what I've seen in practice. We often see when there's seborrhea, there's often neurodegenerative conditions going along with it. Strange coincidence that people would be having brain issues while they often have yellow, flaky skin coming off of their scalp. Bile's yellow. Vitamin A's yellow. If you wanted to detox from your head, where might it come out? It might come out your ears. It might come out your skull. It might come out your eyes. Remember, like sleep, when you wake up and you got the sleep stuff in your eyes? What color is that? It's yellow. What color is earwax? Yellowish, orangish. Where would your body detox your head? If it's trying to get rid of it as directly as it can, it would detox it out of your head. What color is it? Often it's yellowish or orangish. So, Jill, there is stuff, kind of the secret weapon that people talk about, that I discuss in the Love Your Liver program, that I do not discuss out here, ever. That's where you'd want to find that information. Skin problems are almost always correlated with a zinc deficiency. I go over this in the vitamin A toxicity or vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist. Sorry, the vitamin A deficiency doesn't exist video on this channel. I go over that about when you, oh no, that was eye issues. Sorry, that was eye issues. Zinc and taurine. All vitamin A deficiency symptoms can also be linked to zinc deficiency symptoms or taurine deficiency symptoms or both. Skin issues. Pretty much is everybody zinc deficient out there, except maybe all muscle meat carnivores. They get the one check mark for that. Pretty much what I see on testing is everybody is zinc deficient if they're not either supplementing correctly or on an all muscle meat carnivore diet. You can assume you're zinc deficient. Now, I'm not going to talk about how much people should take because people do stupid things all the time. There's a saying I give people enough rope to hang themselves with. Imagine the noose, and people go, oh, Dr. Smith said something. Now I'm going to go and hurt myself with it because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I'm going to do the highest thing he ever said. I'm going to take what he did and I'm just going to do the highest dose because I can take it. And then they realize you can't take it. That was a bad decision. Don't do that. I take my job very seriously. That's why I don't give out a bunch of like protocols on the internet, because I take my job seriously. I would rather not hurt. Wait, what's the first thing in medicine? First, do no harm. Do you think giving the population like some recommendation of everyone needs this amount of zinc a day, if you don't work with the clientele I work with, who are the people who often other doctors gave up on, or the people who say, I've been to every doctor and they all made me worse, if you haven't dealt with that population like I have, you have no idea how much damage protocols can cause. So I don't do them. You may not like that I don't give as much free information out of what to do, and that's fine. I take my job very seriously. I am ethical and I am moral, and I would rather not hurt people by making them do the effort to come into the Love Your Liver program so they can read all the things where I say, do that. You could try this. You could try this. If you get this, don't do that. If do less, watch for this. People know this about me, that one of the things I've been told that people really appreciate about me is that I tell them what might happen, what to watch for if things are not going well. And they say, you're the first doctor who ever told me that, because all the other people out there say, just take this. And then they'll say, but the person tells them, I feel worse doing this. And the doctor will say, just keep taking it. It'll go away. It'll go away. And it never does. It only gets worse until the client quits. How many of you have had that? Doc, I rolled my ankle. Oh, your ankle needs movement. Go and jog on it. It'll, and the person's like, this hurts. This is making it worse. It'll get better. Just keep jogging. It'll go away. You'll be fine. You're just detoxing your ankle. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's the same analogy. Your ankle's just detoxing. It's going to go away all of a sudden. You're taking that supplement, it makes you feel worse. Oh, just keep taking it. It'll go away. Don't double down if you already feel worse. Don't let them tell you to take more of something that you know makes you feel worse. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that. Which is a corollary of the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, let's say the definition of doubling insanity is doing double of the same thing and expecting it to magically get better when it's only been getting worse. That's not how things work in the real world, folks. Drugs have side effects. Supplements have side effects. Better be careful with what you do. This is not a game. This is why I don't play games on the internet of giving willy-nilly nutrition advice, especially about supplements. I take those very seriously. So anyway, Sorry I didn't get through many questions today, but I got to get to my inner circle group over on the network. People who get to ask me questions and they get to get more of my controversial answers and my deeper answers because they've already read the Love Your Liver program and they have more of a foundation of how all this stuff works. I try to give you guys a foundation here, and I can't explain it all here. You guys who have watched all my live streams, you understand how much info we go through here. That's nothing compared to the Love Your Liver program. So anyway, nutritiondetective.com if you want to work with me doing the testing and consultation. Members.nutritiondetective.com is where you can get the Love Your Liver program. That's the do-it-yourself. I answer questions on that, but I'm not out there coddling people through things. That's not the Love Your Liver program by itself is a do-it-yourself program. And then there's the live stream every week. And then there's the inner circle inside the network, which is where I'm going now. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you next week. Bye now.